Welcome to the depreciation video. We're going to review depreciation on this one. We're going to do partial years for this. And so we started production April 1st, 2019. And keep in mind that's what actually counts is when you start production not when you purchase it. So production started April 1st, 2019. The cost was $62,500. The residual value is $2,500. And residual is another name for salvage value or trade-in value. Those are all the same thing. The useful life, we plan on using it for 5 years. That's how long we plan on keeping it. Not necessarily the life of the asset, but that's how long we plan on using it. In total, the total number of units is estimated to be 100,000 units. Okay, so that's our given information. First method we're going to try is the straight line method. And what we have here is cost minus residual divided by useful life times the partial year. Okay, this is for straight line, applies to the first and last of the partial years. Okay, so we have 62,500, so we have equal 62,500 minus the residual of 2,500 divided by the useful life of 5. And if that was it, we would stop there. But we take this times now 9/12. So that gives us $9,000. And for the second year, we'd have the 60,000, which is the 62,500 minus 2,500 divided by 5. And that's as far as we need to go with it. And since it's straight line, it's going to be the same amount every year until this one, which is the last year. And this finishes up that first year that we have, or the partial year that we started. Because up here we had it for 9/12, so down here we need it for 3/12 of the year. So we have equal 60,000 divided by 5 times 3/12, or $3,000. And if we add these up, you notice it's $60,000. Okay, that's straight line. And your entry would be depreciation expense and cut it accumulated depreciation each year for each of these amounts. Okay, now the next method we're going to cover is units of production. And this is cost minus residual divided by your total output. That gives you the rate. And then you take the rate times the actual production, and that equals your depreciation. Okay, so we have 62,500 minus 2,500 divided by 100,000 gives us 60 cents per unit. So our rate here will be 60 cents all the way through. Now I went ahead and added these up, and that's something you'll want to do. I didn't have that in there. You'll add these up because you want to make sure this adds up to 100,000. And the reason why this final year, this year here could have been 25,000, could be 22,000, but the only amount you can depreciate is on the 20,000 because we stopped depreciation at 100,000 units. It doesn't mean we quit using it, it means we stop depreciation. And then what you'll do is you'll take each of these times the rate of 60 cents a unit. Okay, you don't have to worry about the partial year on this one because if you don't have the machine, you can't be producing anything. So you just multiply those out, and if you total these up, you notice that still equals 60,000, which is what we would want. Okay. Now, double declining balance. It's 1 over useful life. We're taking it times 2 because it's double. If it's 1.5 times the rate, you take that times 1.5. But that gives us our rate, and then we take the rate times the book value. So for our purposes, 1 over 5 is 20% times 2, which is 40%. So our rate will be 40%, and that's consistent all the way down. Okay. Now, for the first year, it's a partial year, so we would have equal to, we use the 62.5 because that's our book value. There's no depreciation. Remember, book value is cost minus depreciation. We haven't taken any depreciation yet, so it's 62,500 times 40% times 9/12. So that's your 18,750. Then your book value will be the 62,500 minus your depreciation of $18,750. And then that gives you the book value. So then you take that times 40%. So we'd have equal to 43,750 times 40%. And that gives us 17,500. And then our book value would be the 43,750 minus the 17,500. Okay. And then you continue on down. And I'm going to take the shortcut. Oops, maybe. Down to here, because I know that's going to be okay down to there. Okay. Now, this last one I want to go over a little bit, because if you take the 34,202 times 40%, that gives you 1361. And if you do this, you find that the book value is below 2,500. Okay, we said the residual value is 2,500, so we cannot go below 2,500, which means we cannot take 1361. What we do then is we take the difference between these two. Okay, 902, and if we add these up, notice that gives us $60,000. So you notice all these methods are total depreciation of $60,000. The difference is how much you're taking each year. This is an accelerated method. Now the other accelerated method we're going to talk about is sum of the year's digits. And that's cost minus residual times the years in reverse order over the sum of the years. And this is how you do the sum of the years. N times n plus 1 over 2. So if you did that over here, you'd have to equal 5 times 5 plus 1 divided by 2, which gives us 15. Or the other way you can do that for the sum of the years, you have a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And if you add them up, because that's the sum of the years, that gives you 15. This is just a shortcut. 5's not too bad, but think if you had 20. Okay, it makes it more of a nightmare. Okay, so our formula here is equal to, okay, cost, which was 62,500, minus residual, which is 2,500, times 5, because it's years in reverse order, divided by 15, which is the sum of the years, times our partial year. So that gives us 15,000. Okay. Now what I did is I went through and I calculated, I put these formulas here, but this is what you would actually want to do. 60,000 times 5/15. Then you have to finish up that full year here, because we did 9/12, so we do a partial year, 3/12, and that gives us the 5,000. And then you start the next year, so we had 5, so now we use 4. So it's 60,000 times 4/15 times 9/12, and that gives us the 12,000 for a total of 17,000. Then you finish up that year times the 3/12, and that gives us the 4,000. And then you start the next year, the 3/15 times 9/12, and that gives you 9,000 for a total of 13,000. And then you finish up that year, the 3/12 times 3, the 3/15 and the 3/12, that gives you the 3,000. And then the next year gives you the 6,000 for a total of 9,000. And then this will give you 2,000 and 3,000 for a total of 5,000. And then the last year is 1/15 times the 3/12, which just gives you $1,000. Okay, if you add these up, that should equal to the 60,000. Okay, now what I did over here was a shortcut. If you're doing the full year, you can do it this way, or you have 4.25 years left, because it's years in reverse order. You use 3/4 of a year up, so you have 0.25 years plus 4. So you take 60,000 times 4.25 divided by 15. And that gives you also 17,000. So these are shortcuts for this. And this can be done provided you have it for the full year. If you sell it during the year, you have to do this. Like if you sold it like they say, you sold it right through here, and you sold it in July, you take the 3/12, that takes you through March, and then this would be another 3/12 to take you through July 1st. Okay, so you have to do it that way if you sell it early, but otherwise you can do it this method. That is your depreciation. So I will talk to you on a different video, hopefully, and hope this helped.